Welcome to the 5th Annual Community Literacy Summit. My name is Roberto Torres, and I am the Executive Director of the Hispanic Center of Western Michigan. Today, we will be talking about literacy as a fundamental skill for the workforce. We're going to talk about its impact on low literacy and what it has on the economic outlook of this region. And we're going to talk also about the state of the labor market here in Kent County. Those of you that have met or meeting me for the first time, I'm wearing my what people call to be my signature Latino look. My mother is from Delhi, Texas. My father from Agüitas, Coahuila, Mexico. Today is, for those of you that are of Mexican descent, happy Independence Day to you. For all other Latinos, happy Independence next 30 days. We are entering Hispanic Heritage Month. And the reason why I wear the colors and wear the style of my parents is I grew up one of 13 in a migrant camp. I grew up with parents that had very little English learning. I grew up speaking Spanish only. So when I entered school, it was a whole different experience. Many of you recently may have seen the dawn of a new school year. And if you looked at Facebook, you saw all those pictures of children going back to school. And the memories are all fun. My memories are different. There was this exercise, and you might have experienced it yourself. So you'd go to school, and it was a spelling exercise. And the teacher would bring out the flashcards, and you'd get up, and you'd stand next to your desk. And then the teacher would ask you the word, you would sound the word out, and then you would spell it. For somebody who's Latino and has an accent and has limited English speaking, there are certain stereotypes that come with that. We were teased. We felt really bad. Kids would laugh. And so it got to the point where when we had that exercise, I wouldn't even attempt to even spell the word. I would just sit down. I was defeated. And it wasn't until I was 12 years old when my parents moved me to Lansing, Michigan, and I met my Tío Pancho, my Uncle Frank. And I saw this book, and I started reading it, and it had stories about people who overcame challenges. It had stories about military life. It even had a section that had word power, where you read the word, it gave you a definition, you'd flip the page, and you'd try to match them. And so I started reading it that summer. You see, up until that point, school for me was a challenge for me, and I often fought because kids stereotyped me, because kids teased me. I was often fighting. And so up until that point, I didn't understand the power of learning. Well, that summer, I started reading that book. In fact, my Tío Pancho realized how much I liked the book, and he said, "Mijo," which is an endearing term for my son. He said, "Mijo, do you like the book?" I said, "Yes, Tío, I do." And so he brought out an entire box of those books. And that entire summer, I applied myself to reading those books. It got to the point where everywhere I was at, I had a book with me. At one point, thank you. At one point, folks started asking, "Who's that kid?" And I would have that book, and I would be playing baseball, and I'd be playing all these other sports, and I'd have that book in my back pocket. And kids started saying, "That's Digest." See, the book was Reader's Digest. So they said, "That's Digest, that's that smart kid." And so the more that I started hearing people say that, the more I started to believe that I was actually a smart kid. And so I actually started applying myself, and I started doing really well academically. I ended up graduating National Honor Society. And I went ahead and applied myself in higher ed and in life. You see, the reason why I'm here today is because I truly believe that there's a digest in everyone. I truly believe that there's that yearning to learn that's in everyone. And what we need to do is find that belief in all. When I came into this region, I read an article from Crain's Detroit that said that the future of West Michigan is going to be on how well it harnesses its diversity, particularly its growing Latino diversity. When I met business leaders and I asked them, why Talent 2025? They said because between 2000 and 2009, 1 million Michiganders left the state. See, those people look like you. And what I said to that same person is the irony is that in the next 10 years, 1 million Michiganders will be introduced into this region, but they look like me. And so the story of that child that grew up in a migrant camp speaking Spanish only is one that exists here in Western Michigan. It's one that exists in Grand Rapids. When I look at the student population at Grand Rapids Public Schools, and I see it's 38%, it's one of the few urban regions in the entire Midwest that actually has the Latino population as the largest population, student population in the district. When I was talking, I was at a United Way reception, and I met Mayor Huizenga from Walker, the city of Walker. And as I'm talking to him, he said, Roberto, we need to talk. He goes, you're at the Hispanic Center. He goes, I'm in a community that has 3,000 jobs that need to be filled. He says, we need to work together. And I said, we do, Mayor. We do. But the people that are going to fill those jobs are not the people that filled those jobs yesterday. And so we have to be attentive to that. What they bring is opportunities. So today, what I'd like to do is to ask you to consider the digest and every individual here in Western Michigan. I'm going to close with this one statement. And it was in the migrant camps, since people weren't literate, we used to have these theaters, traveling theaters, that would go out and would illustrate a point. And they still do that to this day. So if you go to Migrant Appreciation Days, they say something about matrícula consular, or they'll say something about immigration reform, and instead of handing out the literature for people to read, they actually enact it through teatro. And there's a saying from Teatro Campesino, and I've used it all my life. And it says, una gota, al ser poca, con otra se hace aguacero, which translates into one drop by itself is just a little, but with another becomes a downpour. And so I'm asking you today, create that downpour of opportunities for the people of our region. Create that downpour of opportunities for the workforce that's needed in this region. Create a downpour of opportunity for the economic prosperity of our region. It begins with literacy. It begins with one person at a time. It begins with that one child that didn't have hope, but was given a book and was given the opportunity to read. And then he discovered to learn the love of reading. Let's commit to begin that today. Thank you. We wouldn't be here if we didn't have sponsors that truly believed in the message that we're illustrating today. So I'd like to, at this time, recognize, and if there's representatives here in the room, please stand to be recognized. Our representatives from the Grand Rapids Community College. So GRCC, are they here? Reps from GRCC, I know you're here. In the back, let's give them a round of applause. You know, I have to say that when we were looking to partner our Latino communities with workforce opportunities in manufacturing, rather than for the folks of the leadership here at GRCC to say, we've got the answer, they said, let's go to the Latino community and find out from them, what are your challenges? How can we help you so that we can create opportunities? And we've started on a partnership with the program, and we've got a CNC training and a welding training program that's done in Espanol. And you see, we didn't stop there, because a lot of times you can do that. A lot of times you can do a training program and just do it in one's native language, and then it stops there. But we have to understand that the reality and the real success of people in this community, of people in this country, is when they're able to bridge that opportunity with growth. And growth means, how do you learn the English language? And that's where the Literacy Center comes in. And so the Literacy Center, partnering with the Hispanic Center, partnering with GRCC, is creating that. That's what it's all about. I also want to acknowledge Michigan Works. Are they here? West Michigan Works, thank you. Funding goes a long way, folks. A good heart gets it started. Funding sustains it. It's my pleasure to introduce a board member of mine from the Hispanic Center, an outstanding leader in our community, Kristen Aikens, to welcome her friend and our keynote speaker. Kristen.
Thank you, Roberto. Let's give him another round of applause for sharing his story. We do appreciate you, Roberto, sharing your story with us. Thank you. Okay, so it's my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. Transformative. Hold on one second, sorry about that. She's transformative. She's groundbreaking. She's an advocate. This is Rana Timpa. She's a tireless champion of workplace inclusion and literacy who made it her mission to advance the field of workplace English as a second language. For the past 25 years, she has made good on her promise. What began with an opportunity to teach ESL to 30 housekeepers representing 11 countries has evolved into Rana's passion and profession. Armed with a bachelor's degree in human resources management and a master's degree in teaching English to speakers of other languages, she founded Workplace ESL Solutions. It's an industry-leading language communications firm headquartered in Las Vegas, Nevada, and she has offices in California and in Florida as well. The firm's chief motivator, Rana inspires her team to educate and empower clients through courses, through coaching, consultation, all in the area of workplace ESL, workplace Spanish, business writing, and written translations. She's sought after by top hospitality corporations, by government agencies, residential communities, and healthcare clients. Rana truly is a guru in linking ESL training to job performance, retention, and exceptional guest experience. The practical application of her innovative approach comes to life, truly. I'm excited to introduce her. It comes to life in empowering her keynote speeches here. The numerous textbooks she's authored and an online ESL hotel program she imagined and engineered with Las Vegas PBS. Rana gets her energy from her kind husband and her teenage dancer daughter and her fancy camera. It's my pleasure, truly, to introduce my friend and colleague, Rana Timpa.
Thank you. Good morning. Happy Monday. Well, thank you for that warm welcome. And I'm so excited to be here. I could barely sleep last night with excitement. Can all of you hear me well? All the way in the back? Awesome. So it's oh wait, hold on. Where's my clicker? Hold on, don't go anywhere. If you were a clicker, you'd be next to my water. All right. So it's 1989, and I just finished college, and I'm living in Illinois, and I get my first job as a manager in a hosiery department at Carson Perry Scott and Company. I was like the best manager. I knew everything about hosiery. You don't even know. And if a customer couldn't find their size, their color, I could order it. I was like a psycho hosiery woman. So after about 8 months of that, I get home and my parents are like, guess what? We're moving. Who's we? So my parents said, you know what? We're sick of the winters. We're going to go to Vegas. All right. So I had to think to myself, do I want to see my parents twice a year or my friends twice a year? So, Vegas, here we come. So, ladies and gentlemen, I moved to Vegas, as you can see. And so I get to Vegas, here I have my HR degree, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna look for a job. So I was trying to decide, should I get a job in marketing or management or at a bank, retail, where should I get a job? And there were so many possibilities out there, and guess what I decided? What? Is that a problem? Yes, that was me. And no, it was not a job. I should clarify. Roberta was like, wow, this is so cool. What a keynote. And it was really funny. When I did this stint, it was a 2-hour event, and it was just something funny. And I'm very conservative, and every time I'm walking through the convention center and I'm wondering why all these men are looking at me, I'm like, oh, that's right. I'm dressed like a showgirl. Normally I'm like this, like, oh, wait a minute, that's right. That was fun. All right, so here I am in Las Vegas, and I get a job as a training manager at a hotel, Bally's Casino Resort. And so one day, I'm doing all the normal training, like new hire orientation, safety training, and one day they say to me, Rana, can you teach the housekeepers English? I'm like, what? All right, so next thing I knew, I have like 30 faces looking at me, and they're from all different countries, like 30 different countries. Oh my gosh, and like 15 different languages, and I'm like, okay, I don't even know what to do. I fell in love with them. I can't even explain this, you guys. I fell in love with these housekeepers. Like, I wanted to be with them all the time. And so I volunteered. Back then, I just had a little camera. And I volunteered at Housekeeping Olympics, taking pictures with my little, camera. And still to this day, literally August 10th, I took pictures at Housekeeping Olympics 25 years later. But now I have a big camera. It's fancy. So it's a little blurry because, remember, there weren't iPhones at one point in life? Remember that, 1993, I think? No iPhones. So this is kind of an old picture, a little blurry, but that was Nellie DeMiranda. I fell in love with her. I did. I can't explain it, but I wanted to be with her all the time. I wanted to be with housekeeping all the time. So after about 8 months or a year, I left my job, went back, I left work, went to my dad's office. He was a CPA, and I took my glasses off, and I'm like, Daddy, what am I gonna do? Like, I want to be with these people all the time, and I'm a businesswoman. I have a business degree, and what am I gonna do? Well, guess what? I quit my job, moved back home with my parents, and got a master's in ESL. And back then, there was no master's in ESL, 1992-ish. My advisor said, Rana, you should get a master's in adult education, in secondary education, because there's no work in adult ESL. Oh, really? She made me cry, but look at me now. I've been wanting to go back and have a conversation with her, but I have not, out of respect. But really, back then, 1992, there was no master's. We had to try to figure it out as we went along. So from there, I got a job at the university. I taught ESL there for 10 years, started a refugee workplace ESL program for Catholic Charities. They didn't even have a program. I wrote the first grant, bought the bookcase. I'm talking about a long time ago, and it was just so exciting. So I'd like to talk about something, maybe, literacy. Anybody know about literacy here? Okay. So literacy, when I first started in my career, literacy meant something different to me than it does now. And I think if we polled all of you and we asked each of you, what does literacy mean to you? What's the definition of literacy? I think we would get a different definition, wouldn't you say? So what is literacy to you, Michelle?
Reading comprehension.
Reading comprehension, literacy to you?
Being able to get out what you're trying to say.
Getting out what you're trying to say, literacy to you?
Empowering someone to make decisions for themselves in the direction of their life.
Empowering people to make decisions about the direction of their life. Emily?
I'd say to be able to get through your daily life and read what you need to read.
Get through your daily life. How about back here? John?
Just giving a chance to understand.
Pardon me?
A chance to understand.
getting a chance to understand. Anybody else have something different they want to? Michael?
The ability to read and write with understanding a simple sentence about one's everyday.
Sure, reading and writing. So that was my first, when I first started in this industry, I thought it was reading and writing. But literacy is so much more than that. So at the university level, literacy was, understanding, listening, speaking, reading, writing, in whatever context they needed it in. Catholic Charities, these refugees came in, and we got funding based on how many people got jobs within 90 days. And so, yes, they needed literacy skills, but they needed a job more than they needed literacy skills, right? They needed a job, so we had to talk with the employers and find out specifically what these guys needed so that they could start working and making money, like right off the bat. So literacy skills, it depends on who the person is, right? And what they need to be able to do. So literacy, the university literacy, Catholic Charities literacy in the workplace is a little bit different too. Anyone here have another definition of literacy that I'd like to share? Yes. Pardon me?
Able to
Understand your environment. Yeah, so then when I talk about the talent and literacy combined, and we're inside of a workplace, and we're all wondering, where is the talent? In Las Vegas, in Michigan, in Detroit, in Grand Rapids. Where is the talent? And so people are always saying, I can't find good workers, I can't find any talent. But you know where the talent is? It's right there. Like it's hidden, it's like a secret. So I love this. So I have, for example, I have a student, and he was 24 years old, and in his country, he finished high school and a couple of years of college. And here in Las Vegas, he was a dishwasher. And I'm like, buddy, you could do whatever you want in your life. Oh, I didn't know. So your talent pool, the hidden talent pool is sometimes, right under our nose. And if we take that person who has a skill set and we develop that person, it's just amazing what we can do. So, if you think about your workplace and you walk through the hallways, sometimes we don't see people. I do an inclusion keynote, and it talks about, seeing people. And not just walking down the hallway, hi, how are you? Fine, thanks, how are you? I teach all of my students to say, fantastic. That's your answer, not hi, how are you? Fine, thank you, how are you? Really, no. Fantastic. Stop these people in their tracks. So when you're walking down the hallways, you're going to see people. And the people that you see, you might think to yourself, these guys don't speak English, these guys aren't educated. Well, guess what? I'll bet you that walking through your hallways, you have a talent pool that you didn't know existed. So when we have ESL graduations, when we do graduations, and we have them do like skits or conversations, I love it when the executives come in and they say, oh, I didn't know. I didn't know. So sometimes you have a labor pool, right under your nose. So another way to attract talent is, and you might think this is silly, but when you offer training to your employees that help them become a better person and become more active in their community, and give them training, whether it's English speaking or listening, reading, writing, these guys are going to be happier to be at work and feel more valued by the employer. And people that feel valued, what happens when people feel valued? they stay. They stay, and they're less likely to go across the street for 5 cents more per hour, right? So you can do things right in your four walls to improve retention. You know, we're thinking about, okay, what are the gaps? So when you go into a workplace and you're thinking about labor shortage, skill set shortages, okay, so what language do these guys need? You know, what language do your employees need to be able to move up? What do they need to be able to do their job more effectively? What language do they need to do their job? So, language, is it the word? Is it the specific word? Is it written word? Is it oral word? You know, what kind of word is it? And that's a question for the employer. Like, so a lot of times they say, Rana, can you come teach English for us? Okay, well, let's have a conversation and figure out, okay, what are the gaps and what gaps need to be filled? So we don't just go in there and teach how to go shopping for tomatoes. I mean, it's a great lesson if they like tomatoes. We can have a little sidebar before or after class. But during the class, we need to focus on the specific words that these guys need to be able to know or say or do in order to do their job effectively and safely. Soft skills. Doesn't matter about how great their words are. Any of us, we might speak English perfectly, but if our soft skills stink, then we're also not doing well. When I was resettling refugees, that was one of our biggest challenges because these were refugees that, you know, were running through camps. And so, you know, teamwork, working as a team, talking to each other, those are, and communication is our soft skills. So you kind of have to weave in, again, workplace literacy, not just the words, but the soft skills as well. So confidence. So I have a brother who's super smart, and I'm the oldest, so I'm not sure how this happened, but he has an MBA from Stanford. I know. Who has that? Him. So what he says, Rana, I'm sure you teach English just fine, but what you do is workplace confidence. Because at the end of the day, when these employees are standing up taller, and feel valued and important, and it's so funny, I love this, when you know, a GM, you know, general manager, a president, a VP will come into the room and say, oh, these guys, they don't speak English, nothing. I'm like, whatever, go away. And all I have to do, see, they have English in their head, but it's like stuck. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just stuck. And all you have to do is be like, hey, man, wow. And it comes up. That's all you have to do. Maybe not, hey, man, wow, but like, you know, like, hey. They do one thing and they do one thing right, and you're like, oh, la profesora, if they speak Spanish. That's the only word I know in Spanish, but you know, be like, hey, making them feel valued, important, and I always say, you guys, how many languages do you think I speak? And the students are like, 4 or 5. I'm like, 1, but I speak it really well, English. But you know, I'm no different than anybody else in my classroom. I just happen to speak English well. That is it. And so my job, and the reason why companies hire me, is because I get people to feel good about themselves. And you know, I started off in my life being a loser, and I had no friends, and it was a bad scenario. And so now I do everything I can to make people feel I'm seen, like I see you. There's an expression in Africa, sawabona sekona, and sawabona means I see you. Literally, it means like I acknowledge and see you. I see you, and until I see you, I bring you into existence. So it's very powerful. Strategic development and succession planning. Those are big when we're talking to the workplaces. The workplaces might say, or I might say, oh, English is so fun, and everyone's so happy. But then the person writing the check is saying, oh, well, happy doesn't pay bills. So, right? So ROI, return on investment. You have to be prepared when you go into a workplace to have this conversation, the strategic development of the company. So you're thinking about, okay, here are my employees right now. Here's a skill set that's missing. Okay, so what's the direction of this company? Where are we going? So the strategic piece of it. And the succession planning. So what is the next level? What is the next job? When you have more English in writing or reading or speaking, what is the next level? What is the next step? Let's think through the succession piece of it. So I think that helps the buy-in when you're having these conversations. And a couple other things you can do in your four walls is, how many of you have like a map on in your hallway with like push pins of where people are from? Yes? Awesome, high five to you. You can have a calendar in your office with the holidays, like international holidays. If you have students from XYZ country, guess what? Know those holidays. So you can say happy XYZ day. I had a student from Iran who missed class. This is a long time ago. And I'm like, oh, where were you? Oh, and she's like, Rana, it was, the new year. I felt a little silly. So know the holiday, learn a couple words. I love this. When I see somebody from ex-Yugoslavia, I'm like, Dobar dan. Oh, you speak my language. I'm like, no, that's all I got. And then in the cab last night, it was an Ethiopian guy, and of course I recognized him just by his face. And I said, oh, you speak Amharic? Oh my gosh, you know. That was all I had to do. It was like one sentence, and they light up. They're so excited. I'm like, is there a good Ethiopian restaurant near here? Oh, you like my food? Yes, I like your food. Normally, all I have to do is say that, and I get like a delivery to my hotel, but it did actually happen this time, but I was trying. I'm like, I like lamb tips and Angela, and that's okay. Also, you can have a mentor-mentee program in your workplace as well. I'm a mentor right now for a couple women who English is their second language, and they want to move up in the company. So there's a lot of things you can do inside your four walls in this workplace literacy realm. So workplace literacy, and this is something you probably already know. It helps people, but it helps businesses. And I'm all for helping people. That's great, and that's why I get excited. But at the end of the day, no one's going to write a check. I'm sorry, but it's about the money when it comes to businesses. No one's going to write a check unless it helps. Did you do that? Because I didn't do that. There's a ghost. But no one's going to write a check unless we have ROI, return on investment. And we need to be able to measure confidence, measure. So let me just ask you, what are some things you can measure in the workplace? So if you're doing an English class in the workplace, what can you measure? Attendance in the classroom? And at work. So attrition. You will see that when you give employees training to help them improve their life, guess what happens? Attrition goes down. They are less likely to leave for 5 cents more per hour. You can measure that. You can quantify that. Confidence, you can qualify that, which leads to quantification, correct? What else can you do to quantify the success of a language literacy program? Pardon me? Promotion, yes. Promotion, wage, confidence. There's ROI. You can test them before and after. So I know I have my own company, so I don't have to use a standardized test. How I test is I create like a speaking activity. Again, it depends on what the goals are of the course, but if it's a class for speaking and listening, then their test in the beginning, their test at the end is speaking and listening, and they don't even know they're being tested. And I give them 2 scores, 1 for competence in the company's language, and 2 confidence. Because at the end of the day, I just finished a class where I had some students that could not read or write or even open their mouth, but they had language. So they were confident, but they didn't have the skills. So It can lead to better wages. It can lead to more profit. Again, guest service, customer service leads to more profit, right? And hello, that's why we're in business. We're not in business if we don't have more profit. Improves job performance. You will see this, I promise you, when people feel valued by their company, they're gonna work harder. Guess what, whatever job they're doing, they're gonna do it better. They're gonna have more pride because they feel valued, they feel seen. I promise you this. And if you haven't done this before, this kind of training before, and you start it now, you're gonna call me and be like, hey, Rana, you're onto something. It improves morale. So when I first started doing this, in 1992, 3, everyone was so happy and they loved me. And that was so great. I felt really good. But it was the other stuff that caught the eyes of and the pens of the businesses. What's the bottom line? How is it going to improve business? But morale. I had a class recently at an unnamed hotel, and the 15 students I had hated their jobs, hated the company, hated their managers, and I had my work cut out for me, because forget the English. I had to it was really hard. And I actually brought them around. I don't know how, it was like an active something. But their morale is, if you're feeling crappy about your company, how likely are you to work hard and to do your best? So in workplace literacy, everybody wins, just like in Las Vegas. I brought this all the way from Las Vegas. All right, let's talk about Las Vegas. Dun, 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 dun. Any of you heard of the Mirage? Any of you been to the Venetian? Any of you heard of MGM Resorts International? Those are my clients. They love me. They think I'm great. They pay me a lot of money. Why? Because I help them improve the guest experience. I help them improve customer service. Because I understand workplace literacy in Nevada. This is why. And I'm so thankful because, I stumbled upon this career back before it was even a career. And I'm so thankful. They could have picked anyone to do this training. And when you are selecting someone to do this training, make sure you hire a professional. Make sure you talk to Chad. He knows this stuff. You have people in your community, probably there's a bunch of you here that knows about workplace literacy. You need a professional. And again, nothing against somebody coming in with an ESL textbook, learning how to go shopping for tomatoes. That is a wonderful thing. But if a workplace is going to dish out dollars, make sure they're learning how to speak to customers, report accidents, emergencies, giving directions, information. That's what you're paying for. Again, the other stuff is great. Again, they like tomatoes. It's important to be able to ask for that. But in the workplace, again, 911 emergency. One time a student came back to class, she said, Rana, your class saved my husband's life. I'm like, what? My husband was having a heart attack, and we had just practiced in the class calling 911. And I don't know about you, but if you ever call 911, there's no time for a dictionary. Oh, excuse me 1 minute, please. Let me go find a dictionary. No. You see a robbery, or you see something going on. Excuse me, I need to go find a dictionary. No. So this is not a joke, you guys. This is a serious thing. I get excited, sorry. So this is a typical graduation at one of our classes. And that's me in the middle. I look really bad, but everybody else looks good. So do you see there's people there in suits? Those are the vice presidents. Those are the presidents of the company. And let me tell you, I just finished. We do work with Seminole Gaming in Florida and Wyndham Worldwide. We just finished a class. It was a 3-day intensive model for Hollywood Hard Rock Hotel in Hollywood, Florida. And I taught it myself, and it was an overnight class, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I know. It was crazy. I kept looking at the clock like, what? Is it 3 o'clock in the morning? And we're like, here? It was goofy. It was totally goofy. But the VPs, they were there at the 5 a.m. for the graduation. Another class was 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. They were there. So they're there. Why? Why are they there? Because they realize that these people are the hidden talent pool of their company. They're the hidden talent pool of their company. And they watch them, like, not perform, but demonstrate skills from the workplace. For example, as I said, I teach all my students how to say, like a conversation. For example, hi, how are you?
Great. How are you?
Fantastic. So you're not expecting me to say that, right? Absolutely not. So I love that. So you know any student that I've taught in Florida, because they'll say fantastic. You should do this test. Really, any of you, when you go to like Tampa, Hollywood, Coconut Creek, or what's the other one? Immokalee. If you go to any of those four, I'm just telling you, you're going to have a lot of fantastics. So like, for example, in the graduation, they talked about the 5 Fs. So in every company, you have different, mottos and mission statements and core values. So this company had the 5 Fs. It was like fun, fresh, focused, friendly, and something else. But I added one more, fantastic. So when the employees are showing that they know the company, that they know what the company stands for, the executives are behind it. And they realize that, the hidden talent and the shortage in the labor pool is going to improve when you recognize and you train and you move and you help move these folks. It's so powerful. Here's another class. This is the Mirage. Oh, the one before was the Cosmopolitan Las Vegas. This is the Mirage. I don't know how these are moving, but. So this is a Wyndham property, and I love these people. Oh my, I can't even explain this to you, you guys. And wait, where's my favorite guy? This guy. Not that he's my favorite, but he's my favorite. He's like 70 years old. Like, takes the bus 2 hours every day, both ways to my class. And we have an audio CD that goes with one of our textbooks, Hotel English, and he would listen to it. Like on his breaks, and so sweet. Oh. Okay. I mean, I love these people. I get to make a difference in their life every single day. And that's what you guys get to do. And that's why, that's how we wake up in the morning. My dad taught us kids, he's like, I don't care what you do when you grow up, but find something that when you wake up in the morning, you're excited for the rest of your day. And look at us, we get to do this. We're not working in some boring place. We get to change lives. We get to impact people. At a graduation that we just had, at a different class in Seminole Gaming, one of the students, and I didn't even know how much I had impacted her. Because I'm always, in the classes, I'm always like, hey guys, you can do whatever you want to do. Let's think through this. Let's think through this. Your job now, your job before, your job now, your job in the future. Let's think about this. And what are the skills that are missing to get you from here to there? And what is your next job? And in this class, actually, one person said, retire. I'm like, all right, well. But this woman, when we had the graduation and she came up and said, good morning, my name is, because again, when you're standing up in front of people, you have to be confident. So she was standing in front of everybody, and first of all, the executives were like, and the managers were like, I've never even heard her talk before, ever. And she started crying and said, this is the first time that I felt seen. It was so powerful, and I didn't even know how much I had impacted her. All I had done is tell her how great she was, and that's all you have to do sometimes, is be like, you're awesome, you can do whatever you want in your life. Oh, I didn't know. So So the right words that you teach in the classroom can make you confident, yes? Yes. So when you teach the right words, whether they're spoken or written, it can make you confident. If you don't have the right words, sometimes I'm not going to say anything because they're not right. So words can make you confident. Confidence makes you smile. Yes, no? Yes. Confidence makes you smile. Smiles make happy customers. And this is the most important one for some of you guys out here. Happy customers make happy shareholders. I'm sorry, but that's the fact, Jack, right? Right? But it has to start over here. It has to start with looking at your labor pool, who's in your four walls. And once you start offering training and once you start developing your people, guess what? The word spreads. The word will spread, and you won't have to search. They're going to come to you because they're going to know that this is a company that values its employees. I got to tell you, this is a true statement. So, let's talk about Nevada. Nevada is on the bottom in a lot of categories. You guys know this? So this is very sad because my daughter's a freshman in high school. So I don't know, we might be moving after I tell you about this. But so in Nevada, the lowest ACT scores are in Nevada. Really? I'm not saying the second to lowest, like the bottom. And there's a lot of states, I don't know if you've counted recently, but there's a lot of states. They're at the bottom. So we're the lowest when it comes to education. So number of doctors in Nevada, we're also the lowest, except for plastic surgeons. See? No, I'm joking. I have not had plastic surgery. No, but this is a true statement. It's a true statement. So if you walk around Las Vegas, you'll see lots of plastic surgery. So we're on the top in some ways too. So we are on the top 10 list of, drum roll please, the 10 worst states to live in 2016. See, we're on the top 10. Top 10. This is a joke. No one's going to be moving to Vegas after this talk, right? Also, we're on the top. We've got one of the highest violent crime rates. I know. You're getting your passports out. I know. Okay, but here's kind of a cool thing. We're number 1 for magicians per capita. I'm not making this up. And Michigan was like, you weren't even number 2. You were like, I don't know, 30-something. But yeah, there's stuff out there to find on the internet, guys. This is something. But with all that kind of laughing aside, Nevada is doing something really cool right now. And I was a board member for Workforce Connections, which is our government, quasi-governmental agency that doles out all the federal funding, Southern Nevada Workforce Investment Board, called Workforce Connections. I was on the board for 8 years, part of the rebranding of our board, and I was very involved in that for 8 years. And so 2 weeks ago, okay, this is not like, I wrote this today, okay, or yesterday. 2 weeks ago, we signed an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding for, hold on. So we wrote an MOU. It's a relationship between the local board and the library district. So WIOA, you guys know about WIOA? So it's merging Title I and Title II. They're going to be friends now. This is very exciting stuff for Las Vegas. So we just signed the MOU. What's going to happen is, so right now we have one comprehensive one-stop, and Title I and Title II are not together. But what's going to happen is we have 24 libraries through the Clark County Library District, and it's our library district is among the top 10 largest library district in the country. All 24 libraries is going to have a one-stop. inside the library. I know, who's like, whoa, that's so cool. And check this out. Oh, that's our One Stop Career Center currently. But this is what's going to happen, you guys. So Title I and Title II are going to be together. And guess who else wants to play Title III and Title IV? I know, you guys are like, really? That's so cool. So the first library that's going to be that's going to be loaded, locked and loaded is in December of this year, and then the second one, July of next year. So this is, big news for Nevada, and I'm super, super proud, to have not been part of this, but to be in Nevada. So one kind of really cool thing is, so in the past you'd have ESL in one location, right? Or ABE, Adult Basic Ed, literacy, whatever, in one location. And then they'd have to take the bus, get in a car, and go somewhere else, right? For their Title I services, Title III, Title IV. Now guess what? They're gonna walk across the hall. It's so cool. I mean, so imagine, you have somebody that they just finished their language training and they want to be a coder or they want to become a technician. Well, now it's so easy. Now they don't get lost figuring out where those Title I services are. They can be literally walked down the hallway. So it's a very exciting time for us. All right, so let's talk about Michigan. You guys are way ahead of the curve. Look at this. So do I have some Nevada Works folks here? Woohoo! You guys are doing amazing things. So West Michigan Works, and then there's you guys are West Michigan Works, yeah. Adult education, who are my adult education friends? Lots of friends here. And how about employment services? Title III? Oh, really? Okay. And then rehabilitation, Title IV? Any Title IV folks in here? Oh, hello. Title IV person, singular in here. So you guys are already doing this stuff. You guys are already, doling out or working with, Title II WIOA, which is fantastic. I'm trying to think what else was I going to. So, any of you here facilitate English classes, ESL classes? All right, well, I got a joke for you. I just had to put this in here. I don't know even if it fits, but I just think it's funny, and I don't know, we all need to laugh. That's funny. I hear some delayed laughter. Oh, I get it now. I get it now. That's so funny. I laugh every time. Every time I see that, I laugh. All right. Oh, no, I don't want to show you that. So I want to tell you about, so the last thing I want to talk to you about is I want to share a story with you. So, back in 1996, I was teaching a class at Caesar's Palace, and I had a lot of Bosnian refugees in the class. And I had a student named Zoran. He was an accountant in his country, and I don't know about the Bosnian refugees back then. When you would teach the lesson on calling in sick, they look at you like you have two heads because they don't do that. So I had this class of Bosnian, mostly they were casino porters. That means they were janitors or they were in housekeeping. And it was one of the most rewarding classes of my life. It was, 1990, no, I'm sorry, I'm lying. It's 1994, the year before I got married. And for a present to me, right before at the graduation, they gave me a long green sequined dress, which I still have. I've never worn it because it's a long green sequined dress. But it always makes me smile. Okay, that's a side note. So about 10 years later, a girlfriend of mine from Chicago came into town, and she's and we're walking through the, walking down the strip, and she said, let's go to the forum shops at Caesar's Palace. All right. So we're walking through the casino area, and all of a sudden she hears me yell, Zoran, Dobar dan, Kakusi. And so there was Zoran, my student from like 10 years ago. So I walk up to Zoran, and we talk for a little bit. And so then we left, continued our trek to Caesar's Palace, the forum shops. And my friends like looking at the, the Roman statues and all the clinking of the slot machines. And then she says to me, Rana, I didn't even notice Zoran. He was kind of like invisible to me. And that is the population that we're working with, is they're invisible to a lot of people. And my job and your job is to get them out of hiding. And we can do that. We can get them out of hiding. They don't even know they're in hiding, but we know. So it's so easy to do just by, giving them a compliment, listening to what they say, listening with intent, looking in their eyes, asking them, what did you do in your country, and now and future, and let's think about this, and where do you want to go, and let's make a plan, Stan, let's figure this out. So it was just really interesting that she didn't even see him. He was, sweeping the floors, and she didn't even see him. But something that I didn't tell you is that as we were walking away, I turned and looked at Zoran, and he was standing about 2 inches taller with a big smile on his face. So how do you think that impacted him the rest of his day at work? And how do you think that impacted him when he went home that night to his family? You see, all we have to do is, again, see people and make them feel valued, important. And you might think I'm just saying that, but it's one person at a time, one person at a time. Who are you? Like, who are you? And what was your job in your country? And I always joke with them, like, you guys, this is true. I had a business trip to Mexico a couple years ago, and I was thinking to myself, I speak Spanish. Just wait, so I get to Mexico, and I'm all excited because I speak Spanish. So I walk into a store, and I say all my great Spanish. And then they responded back. I'm like, oh, no. Yo puedo solamente hablando en español. No puedo comprende nada. And that's bad Spanish, I know. You're laughing. But I realized that I could say a lot of things, but my ear did not know Spanish. So any country that I would go to, I would be doing manual labor. I'd be working in a factory. I'd be working in manufacturing. I would be working on a line. I would be doing manual labor because that's all I know how to do because I can't communicate. All right, so I want to just finish with So Zoran, if he had Title I and Title II under the same roof, at that time, guess what? We would have gone from, he wouldn't be a casino porter still. He would have gone from English to some kind of training to get back on his feet in accounting. And so I'm so thankful and lucky that I've had the opportunity to impact all these people my whole life, my 25 years in Vegas. And I'm so fortunate that I get to be here today to inspire or entertain all of you. And lastly, I'm thankful for my dad, because without my dad, nothing. I love my dad. And thank you for laughing at all my jokes, and thank you for your interest in literacy, and thank you for having me. You're not keeping the sign either.
I was really hoping to keep the sign. Thank you, Rana. We are so glad to have you here today, and I hope you enjoyed her keynote speech. We do want to have, at least open it up for a chance for quick questions. We are running a little behind, so we'll just, if anyone has one quick question for Rana, you will have a chance to hear her speak later today during one of our breakout sessions with Chad.
Yes, sir. Questions are free.
Peter.
That's a huge, huge problem. And whenever I'm talking with companies, if somebody's doing a job with a risk like that, I'm like, listen, until we get them English, they need to do something else, because the company's liable. Yeah, maybe you have somebody come in and a professional come in and assess your workforce, like the literacy center, right? Exactly. You guys, everyone's here in this room. Have them come in. No, yeah. But the one thing, make sure you hire a professional, like Chad, who's not sitting right there anymore. But right there. But hire a professional that knows about literacy, not somebody who's bilingual. That's a great thing, but hire a professional, and Chad's phenomenal.
So a lot of people think about manufacturing, they think about old notions of manufacturing where you come to work and you sit inside of a work cell and you push a button or you pull a lever. Those days are gone. We're in a different era now.
Today, you really can't do much of anything within the workplace without a minimum level of literacy. Basic ninth grade education level ability to read. But if you put that into real context, it means more than that. It means just the ability to interact, the ability to accept directions.
You have to be able to read and comprehend information and actually write work instructions.
Not just read and write, but to be able to talk in the native language, in the language of business and of our culture and of our community.
The way that language skills or the lack of language skills affects the organization is workforce trainability. We hire for a lot of reasons, but we do not expect people to walk in here knowing how to make car parts. We teach them everything they need to know once they get to LACS. The second one is safety. All of our safety rules are in English, all of our signage is in English. The third is process. In all manufacturing organizations, people have to be disciplined. And all of our process documentation, all of the instructions for our operators are in English. So from a manufacturing standpoint, delivering quality product to our customer, there's a huge impact.
So if you want to have a career, you need to be able to have these basic skills, and literacy is fundamental to having a career in not only manufacturing, but many industries.
Without that, not only do people get stuck, but companies get stuck too. We can't grow, we can't innovate, we can't attract talent into our organization if we're still trying to move past the basic hurdle of literacy. It's definitely a talent pipeline issue. If we can't attract, if we can't find people to run our businesses, then we can't succeed.
If there are jobs available and you don't meet the minimum requirements, you're gonna have a difficult time, finding a job or keeping a job. So a person may be able to get into the door, but they won't be able to advance their career because they're not able to do the basic elements that the job requires.
We look to our hourly workforce for talent and potential and the real work ethic that we want from leaders and technicians in the facilities. And it takes away a whole population from us that should be experiencing the full work life, the richness of the full work life here at LACS.
Once people pass outside the education system, they can get lost. Who can really help them get back on track and get them to a basic level of literacy?
You want to be able to partner with people in the community that can help those people build their skill sets. And even sometimes getting to a 10th grade level can make somebody successful. We do a lot of testing and examinations so we can figure out what people's needs are. And in the past, we've worked with the Literacy Council to help people raise their literacy level.
In addition to working with families and schools, the Literacy Center does one-on-one tutoring to help adults learn how to read. In addition to that, it works directly with companies to provide customized workplace English training for either large groups or small groups of people within a company.
They're a wonderful, wonderful resource. We've seen people make huge leaps in reading grade levels in a relatively short period of time because they work with a really good tutor.
When you take these efforts and your employees can see that you're focusing on them, this is something they can take with them, right? This is a skill that you have for the rest of your life. This individual can now read to his kids. This individual can read in church. These are things that he couldn't do before, but because of this experience, he's able to increase his overall value to the company and his overall perception of himself.
We're really just scratching the surface on what we can do and what we need to do to be able to make our community more strong and vibrant through literacy.
My name is Bill Pink. I am honored to serve as the Vice President and Dean of Workforce Development here at GRCC, and we're glad to have you at our MTech this morning. Welcome. I'm hopeful that it has been a fruitful and refreshing morning for you. You are a part of and in a facility that last year serviced over 16,000 students through these doors and through our workforce and job training programs, customized training and such. That 16,000 plus students was separate and apart from the almost 15,000 students that we serve in our credit programs, both downtown, out in Ottawa, and different different sites all over West Michigan. So welcome to our MTech. I say congratulations to Wendy and to the Literacy Center for putting on this program today. It's not an easy task when you put on a summit, a conference, a workshop. It's not easy. So I congratulate Wendy, Kaylee, and all those who have had hand in this effort. When you partner with Michigan Works, Literacy Center, GRCC, this effort is commendable. So I want to kind of close this out this morning. Before I just have a couple of things I want to share with you, just some things for you to walk out the door thinking about. However, before I do that, I want to make sure I cover all the housekeeping pieces here. The CEO Human Resources Luncheon Focus Group, that luncheon is going to be in rooms 204 and 206, right upstairs here. You go up those stairs, or if you need to use the elevator. That will be right as we're done here, right around 12:15. So, and actually my remarks will probably go till about 1:45, so I'm joking. That's not going to happen. But about 12:15, that'll get started. Also, those receiving CEUs, you got to return those evaluations for both breakout sessions and overall event to the CEU registration table in the back. Please make sure that you're able to take care of those things. Let me share one or two things with you as we close out this summit this morning. When I think about this topic in terms of the importance of literacy and literacy in the workplace, from being an educator, I always go back to and think about what literacy means as far as education is concerned, higher education. So I think about what it means here at GRCC, GVSU, Ferris State, all of our higher ed institutions. Literacy, when we see it in our spaces, is of vital importance, as you would imagine. What we see in our place is when we have students who come in our doors and their literacy level is not such that they are able to just progress quickly through our programs. What we see when we have to give them some remedial and developmental help, I will tell you the three things I can tell you that it does. Their confidence drops. Usually their performance in classes drop. And eventually, friends, we may see them drop. We see them disappear. If we are not able to give them those supports that stand up to make sure that they are able to up their game in terms of their level of literacy, whether it be as far as literacy when it comes to reading, when it comes to writing, when it comes to language. If we're not able to help them up that level, then those three things typically happen. We see it if we're not able to help them. Their confidence drops Because when you're not able to read the materials and really gain a good understanding of it in an adequate speed, an adequate manner that you feel like is adequate because you see the folks sitting around you doing it, your confidence drops. And then your performance drops because as a class continues to go, it doesn't get any easier. And so sometimes the reading becomes more, the reading level becomes more, the amount of reading becomes more, to where all of a sudden we see that performance start to lag. And then, if we're not careful and we're not able to get them some help, they disappear. We don't see them anymore because what they have done is that because of their confidence and their performance, they say, I can't do it. Why am I even here? And they walk out our doors. We at GRCC try to do our best to make sure those things do not happen. But when I think about that in terms of the workplace, when you have employees who are experiencing some of those same things, guess what? Their confidence drops because they're not able to function at the level that you as an employer or their colleagues standing and sitting around them, they get that pressure and they feel that pressure and they're thinking, wait a minute, their confidence drops. And if the confidence drops, usually, I don't know about you, but when my confidence drops in terms of what I am doing, usually my performance goes with it. Because my confidence fuels my performance. And so you will notice that dip in performance, and quite frankly, friends, in so many ways, they too can disappear on you. Because those two factors lead to that third where we recluse and we say we can't get that done. And so what do we do, and what do we do in education in terms of those people? I hope is the same thing we do in our workplace. We try our best to get them to those levels where not only the confidence is restored, but the performance is restored. So that we have a workforce that has the confidence to make sure that they are able to not only do the job that is set in front of them, but they are able to progress. They are able to advance. They are able to move up. So that they have that level of confidence in their performance so that they shine as employees. The things you can't do, what you can't do is decide that I need to put that individual in a role that they don't have to read. I'm put them over here. You don't have to read as much in that job. Just go over there, just do that one. Friends, you know what's wrong with that? I haven't helped that individual. I may have helped them in terms of being able to be in a job that doesn't really call out and require a whole lot in terms of literacy. It just may have a lot to do with your hands, maybe little to none as far as literacy is concerned. I understand that idea of the task needing to get done, but friends, if you're gonna do that and you're gonna send them over there, please also send them with some hope that we will get you some help. We will help you out, because if we're not helping those individuals out, some of those folks are the same ones who go home to a house that has children that if they can't give those children some good confidence in terms of their literacy, then what have we done to help not only that family, but what have we done to help our society? What have we done to help West Michigan? And so my encouragement to you today, as we are wrapping up this summit, is to think about what that means for our people in terms of our workplace, our workforce. That not only are we able to hire and not only are we able to do things in terms of getting people employed, but that we are supportive of those employees and our employers so that we can be supportive in ways that give our workforce not only what they need from a literacy standpoint, but continue to give them those support levels. I love the fact that GRCC is such a partner with the Literacy Center. I love that fact because what that means is that when we call Wendy and we say, Wendy, we've got this opportunity, we have these students, we have this grant, we have this opportunity, that Wendy is always one who says, how can we help out? Because if we can comb in that idea of literacy with our workforce training, then what we have done is put together more of a full package of preparing a workforce for West Michigan. To make sure that partnerships are in place, because partnerships, friends, matter. If I get started on that, I'll be here another 15 minutes. Partnerships, I'm gonna go ahead in a little bit. Partnerships matter. It matters how we partner together. Because if we at GRCC decide, I'm gonna have to unbutton on this one. If we at GRCC decide that we are the only ones and we can do it all by ourselves and on our own and not be able to partner with many people sitting in the room right now, I see people from West Michigan Works, I see Kevin Stotts, I see others who are our partners. I'm a little selfish about that. You are our partner. If we aren't able to do that, friends, good luck with getting some needles moved. Good luck with that. Because if we decide that we are such siloed institutions and organizations that we can just pull it off on our own, we make a horrible mistake. GRCC is good, but we're great when we partner with people like Wendy. GRCC is good. We are awesome. We're even better when we partner with people like Kevin Stotts, Jacob Moss, Angie Barksdale. We are better when we are able to do that. So through partnerships is where we start moving needles for the state of Michigan, for West Michigan, for Grand Rapids, for a competent literal workforce. I'm happy to be able to say that we are partnered, and I encourage each of you to think about what that means for your organization. And I'm happy that you are here today. If there's anything that our institution at GRCC, especially in our School of Workforce Development, anything that we can be doing with you and for you, please email me, call me, let's talk, because we have to figure out how we continue to make progress in this space of literacy, but we make progress as far as our workforce is concerned in West Michigan. Thank you so much for being here today. We'll see some of you at the luncheon afterwards. You are dismissed. Thank you.